What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
In today's episode, I'm actually sharing 7 high-level nutrition hacks that I give to my paying clients to help them get leaner and maintain a leaner physique with more muscle. And these aren't just going to be dinky little things like eat more vegetables. And they're actually going to be big themes that if you implement them, you're going to see massive, massive changes in your personal journey. And I also have a free gift for you halfway in this episode to accompany this. So definitely something to look forward to. But one thing I do find and what inspired this episode, a large part of what I do as an online coach is helping people navigate nutrition, navigate sustainability, navigate their lifestyles, and still seeing progress. And obviously a lot does go into it. And I hear all the time, hey, it's not training. I like training. Training's fun. It's nutrition I struggle with. And I find a lot of that struggle just comes from bad habits or not approaching things in an intelligent and balanced way. And that's what these 7 criteria are really structured around. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a background there because this is something I'm so incredibly passionate about. And the first thing when I sign someone up into my coaching program is I'll look at their data and I'll really work hard to craft out effective protein and calorie goals for them. I used to be really big into tracking all of my macros, and I track all my macros rather, but having goals for my carbs and fats as well. But science has shown this can be relatively interchangeable and one isn't necessarily better than the other. They have use cases, they have benefits, and as long as you're eating in a balanced diet, it's not going to be a big problem. And a lot of this actually comes down to preference. I actually eat a pretty high fat diet myself. I feel really good being at about 110 grams of fat a day, which might appall some of you, but I maintain a lean physique with this. This works for me. I really like things like guac. I really like different nuts and legumes and butters and different things and oil when I'm cooking. And these are all things that have set well with me. So it's silly for me just to have a goal of having 500 carbs and just be pounding ridiculous copious amounts of carbs, where when I do that, I feel more lethargic. And when I was younger, I liked the carbs. They sat with me better. I was more active. There was more going on throughout the day. I played more sports. So they really worked well for me. But that's where these are actually pretty interchangeable, and people get all in the weeds about their carbs and their fats and all these different things. But if you're balancing a healthy caloric intake and you're actually at a range that's helping support your goals, whether it be losing fat, whether it be adding muscle, or whether it be maintaining, that is going to be your primary focus. From there is your protein goal. Your protein goal is essential to helping you maintain muscle, feel more satiated, which is to be more full throughout the day, to supply you with more energy, and also just to really help support maintaining muscle as you are losing fat. So protein is like a secret weapon. So if you can nail your protein and calorie goals and you can nail them consistently, not deviate from them at the weekend, you're at a huge benefit and you're going to have a huge leg up. So that is something I really wanted to focus on, and changing that mindset of like, I'm going to eat less sugar. I'm going to stop having carbs after 6. When you can get away from these gimmicks and really look at what matters, and that is the total amount of calories you're eating as well as your protein goal, and being consistent with it, this is where we can really have consistent, constant change.
Yeah, honestly, and that really pairs well with number 2, because it's amazing to make those great decisions like Josh has been sharing, with the goals and whatnot. But a lot of people struggle because they don't have proper data. They don't have proper feedback within their entire journey, right? So if every day you start to eat a little bit better, you make tons of decisions better, but you aren't sure of your weigh-ins, if you're not sure of what, the actual numbers look like, you're just going to be pretty much blindfolded, right? It's like operating and walking around with a blindfold on. You might get to your destination some way or another. You might have to grab things around to figure out how to get there. You might have to ask people. It'll definitely be a lot slower. Whereas when you have the data in front of you, it makes such a big difference. And I think a lot of people struggle with all this because they don't know what data is actually important, right? Because I've had this conversation. I remember one guy, he asked me, he said, man, your Apple Watch, like, how great is it? Like, I want to go for bike rides and I want to figure out how far I'm going. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, it's cool to see that distance and whatnot. And he was saying, actually, he specifically said to me, I remember, I'll never forget this convo. He said, but tracking's too hard for me. Like, I can't keep up with it. I have a busy job and stuff. And I'm like, this is the wrong information to be tracking. So when it comes down to it, you really want to be using some sort of tracking app. There's a ton of them out there. We use MyFitnessPal. Our clients use different ones. I forget exactly. Oh yeah, there's like just different macro ones. I forget what they're called, but yeah, Lose It's very popular. And as long as you're taking that information and really paying attention to that, it makes a big difference. Now, I will say having someone analyze that data makes it so much better because you know what feedback you can get and what actually makes a big difference. And so that's what we do for all of our coaching clients. We'll actually get them to track everything, and we'll be able to use a spreadsheet to see what the trends are looking like. I'm actually going to put an example here on the screen of one of my client Dale's spreadsheets. He lost 25 pounds with me. He's got kids. He's busy. He's always busy with work, and he just used all that data to his advantage because every single week when we check in with them, I can say, hey, here's where we can improve, here's how the trends are going, and we're paying attention to the most important stuff. So you can see on the spreadsheet, it's only the things that matter. It's your overall intake. We're going to pay attention to your cardio calories, your weigh-ins, your energy levels. And when you pay attention to the most important data, you can make changes, or in our case, with what we do for our coaching, we can make changes for you in the following week to help you progress. And that's why our clients see such great success. But like I said, a lot of people just aren't doing this because you're like, what do I track? What do I pay attention to? But this high level tip will make such a big difference on your journey.
Yeah, I've been doing this 10 plus years, and this is still my secret weapon. And people will say, oh, that's extra work. And I'm like, it takes me maybe a minute or two a day. And this data is so valuable because you really begin to see how it all relates. If I'm over my calories significantly each day, the next day my energy level is tired, I'm full the day before, my workout intensity is going down, I can really associate the theme to why that's happening. And you might say, well, it's kind of obvious, Josh, get with it. But it's one thing, day after day, we have this predisposition to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt or to assume we weren't as bad as we were. And sometimes when you look at this hard data, like data doesn't lie, you're like, I need to step it up. I need to do better. I've been overeating and my weight's constantly creeping up. If I don't check myself, I'm going to end up putting on more weight than I'd like. And at the same time, too, you'll say, am I actually losing the weight at the threshold I need? Do I need to make any necessary changes week to week? Am I hitting my protein goals? Is that like the gap in what's happening? Is my adherence percentage really low? We have that all auto-populate from that spreadsheet. And if you're able to see the podcast on video, I definitely recommend checking it out when Kyle had mentioned it. And we'll actually put it back on the screen right now. So you can go ahead and see that in the background if you are curious what that looks like. And this is something we constantly monitor pretty much throughout the week, and then weekly we'll do a check-in and make any necessary adjustments because you don't want to over adjust as well. And this is where we'll also weigh in every single day as opposed to one-off weigh-ins, which can be high or low. We can really get a theme of how things are trending. So data in fitness is so powerful, but only if you use it well and you understand what you're using. And tracking is really like the number one high level thing to consistently produce change, because otherwise I could tell you all the time there are days where I'm like, oh, I probably didn't eat that much. And then you track everything and you're like, ugh, I messed up by not pre-logging. So that is how you can really get in front of that. And that was so well said by Kyle. But my third one is a fiber goal. So what's cool about fiber is it's more than just eating fiber. So I know I said, hey, it's not going to be about eating more vegetables, but what's cool about fiber is it's a really great catch-all for me to get a great understanding of the quality of my client's food. With fiber, most foods that are fibrous, and fiber can be hard to find, it's going to be in whole, hearty, healthy foods. So if you're eating a lot of vegetables, you're eating fruits, you're eating whole beans and legumes, these are all going to be very dense in fiber. And it's actually just has copious amounts of benefits. I actually made a huge list here and I'm going to rifle through them. So fiber actually promotes gut health, aids with digestion, prevents digestive disorders like IBS, regulates your blood pressure, lowers cholesterol, increases satiety, which is my personal favorite. It'll cause you to be more full. It reduces the risk of certain cancers, improves skin health. And the general recommendations, if you're wondering, I know I'd be asked this, so I pre-prepared this. And this is super general. The size of you matters. It's hard to give the same criteria for someone who's 100 pounds versus 200. But generally, I like to see about 15 to 25 grams for women, and then about 30 to 40 for men. And once again, there's exceptions to every rule. And if you're only eating like 5, aim to eat 10. If you just jack up your fiber overnight, you're going to feel really bloated, and it's going to be a big change if you're not eating dense foods. But like I said, what's great about fiber is it's something you can actively seek to improve, and you'll actually be fuller with less calories. You'll actually notice you'll have better digestion, which is absolutely fantastic. And with that also, I'm able to see on my end, like, okay, we're actually getting a good amount of food quality. Whereas if your fiber is like 2-3 grams in the day, it's a real great wake-up call for me to say, hey, you need to do a little bit better. And we've been asked before, like, how does 80-20 work? Are you sitting there and actually calculating the percentage of what's healthy? And generally we know what's healthy and what's not. So this is a good reminder, and I can see in that data if my fiber is low, and I can make the necessary adjustments to actually improve it. And before we get into Kyle's next tip, if you were loving this episode, I actually made a counter document. I was going to make it into an episode, but this is very high level. And this is a little behind the scenes as to what I do for programming. So I actually have a cheat sheet here with 7 high level training hacks I use to keep my paying clients jacked and lean. And like, I held nothing back here. These are a lot of my secrets of my programming that I think you'll enjoy. So if you don't know things like cluster sets, deload, unload weeks, like those are just the first 2 in my document here. And this is actually an amazing 3-page document, totally free, that I want to give to you for getting into this point of the episode so you can implement it into your routine and actually see better results. So if you want that, just simply DM me the keyword training hacks to my Instagram at ColosssusFit, COLOSSUSFIT, and I will send that right over. No catches, nothing to it. I just want to give back, and I just want to say I really appreciate you listening. And like I said, this is super high level, so I hope you get some killer results from it. But what's the next tip, Kyle?
Next up, and you're going to want to listen to this one, you need to figure out a schedule and a system of eating that works for you. Now, every person is so unique, and you may have the same calorie goals as someone, but you don't have the same lifestyle, you don't have the same eating patterns. Things can be completely different. And I think where so many people struggle is they don't really know where their next meal is, what's going on there, right? And I looked up, and it's been said that we make over 200 decisions per day eating wise, which is absolutely incredible when you think of how much willpower we have. If we spend so much time thinking about that, like when's my next meal, where's my next meal, and all these different things, you're just always questioning, and you just need to get into a rhythm. So for me, I try my best to eat mostly similar stuff. And I would say I'm very happy to report back, like I probably have to make under 10 decisions a day, depending on what's going on. Like this morning for my breakfast, I saw I had pomegranate in the fridge. I forgot about it. I'm like, oh, I got to fit it in. How do I fit it in? Scan the barcode, get an extra 25, 30 calories. Boom. That's one decision. Everything else was the same. So you have to just get into a rhythm. And I think that's where some people struggle, is like sometimes lunch will be at 11 a.m. Sometimes it'd be at 1 p.m. Sometimes you don't get a chance to have it. And really figure out what works best for you. When are you the most hungry? When is going to fit based off of your work schedule? And know what type of person you are. So we even had Coach Jason down here, and we are very different people in terms of eating. I try not to snack much. I'll have one afternoon snack, which is a protein snack. It was either a Fairlife drink or a Quest chip. I had 3 full meals. That's what I did. He was very snacky. He has a bit more calories, and he just incorporated a lot more food before bed, which I wouldn't do. And he still is able to maintain a lean and jacked physique and reach his goals. We can do the exact same thing in different ways. And you just have to figure out what works best for you and implement that and stay consistent with it. But try to stay as accurate and dialed in with that. Like, don't try to deviate, because every day, if you're like different times, different meals, different this, different that, it's always going to be challenging to stay on track with it. And you have to figure out what works best for you.
Next up is understanding nutrient density. So this is going to refer to how much fiber, mineral, vitamins, nutrients are jam-packed into your foods. And if you go to foods that are full of empty calories, so think like sugary cereal, candies, things that aren't going to satiate you very much, you're really putting yourself in a tough spot. It's a lot easier to win with more dense, healthy foods. So empty calories will only temporarily satiate your hunger, and perhaps you've had like a candy bar or a McDonald's, and then like an hour later, you're like, what the heck, I'm hungry. Whereas you've had a salad or a really amazing stir fry and you've stayed full longer. So you need to implement both. And we've mentioned the 80-20 rule, and it's there for a reason. 80% whole hearty foods, 20% fun foods, and both are going to be to your benefit, but you need to use them intelligently. I don't mind perhaps having something that isn't as nutrient dense when I've had most of my calories for the day, and it's like a dessert or something at the end of the day, and I'm willing to cut my calories off after that. But if I have a really simple, poor quality dinner, like if I were to eat like Eggo waffles or something with no protein, I'm probably going to be starving at night. Whereas if I have a big salad or that stir fry example, I could probably finish eating at 6 and not be hungry by the time I go to bed with the same amount of calories. So this is where you need to start understanding yourself and your psychology as to when you want to be maximizing these things. And that's why for my snacks, I usually like protein and or vegetables, because I like big meals. So I do find that by having snacks that are denser, it actually kind of lasts me a little bit longer. And I don't even really like to snack that often. And even sometimes I can get away with a very dense nutrient meal and then really just take a larger gap before my next meal. So it's easier to win with the more dense and nutrient heavy foods you have, because it's just going to make it a lot easier easier to the counterpart. So the more you can adjust your diet and improve it to consist of more of these, once again, just the easier it is to stay lean and satiated.
And this next one is a great add-on, is just simply planning for fun things and enjoying them guilt-free. So this is something I'm super passionate about, especially because every one of our clients is here for the long run. They're here to succeed, to have a social life, to be able to lose fat, build muscle, but still have a social life. And that's where, once again, so many people struggle when they start this journey, because they just will try to do everything super quickly. They end up rebounding. They never can go out. They can't do anything at all. They end up miserable. That's not how we operate. That's not what we do. If that's what you want, we don't do that. There's other coaches who will deprive you of that, but we want to be able to make it a lifestyle and help you succeed long term. And I have a bunch of different examples for this, but even myself as someone who has a sweet tooth, if like on one end, if Josh said, hey, for the next 2 months, you're never having a cone, like an ice cream cone for 8 weeks, it's summer, it's beautiful, I'm going to probably binge eat on it if I ever get a chance to. I'm going to hate it. I'm just not going to be enjoying it. Whereas if you said, hey, every single day you can also have it and just have whatever sweets you want, I probably would have go overboard. I'd probably take him up on that opportunity many times. So it's important to be able to plan it out, to be able to log it in. And I've got some examples. Even myself, I've turned down many sweet options here because it's just not what's going to fit for my calorie days, but I can still allocate and plan forward some specific things that I'm looking forward to. So I've been to a few Florida Panther hockey games and they have ice cream, which is pretty cool. It looks amazing. And I've wanted it a few times, but I was out of calories, and I'm going to a game and I'm going to make sure I can look forward to it, enjoy it. Just one time I'm going to have it. And that's exciting stuff. And that's where I think you can 100% plan ahead. And that's a really big difference maker, because we are fans of flexibility. It's not about going out and having 6 of them. It's about being able to say, hey, I'm going to look forward to this one thing. And that's what keeps our clients being able to see great results long term. It's not about having a ton of it. It's not about ever depriving yourself, but it's about being reasonable and making that small, consistent change. And it makes such a big difference to help you stay consistent on your journey.
And I find it's really fun to build around these events. So Kyle knows what he's having. He's seen the portion size. He can begin to already log it into his MyFitnessPal. He can log his breakfast, and he can curate the rest of his day around that to really just make sure he's in a position of success, and he can enjoy that whole thing therefore. And whereas if he does it later, maybe he only can have a third, and he needs to rely on his discipline to not have any more, and it's more likely he'll go over. And then I'll say, I'm already over. Those tacos look pretty good. I could use a popcorn. And like, it's crazy as it sounds, that's often how going so far off the deep end can happen, just with one bad decision or feeling defeated. So the best thing you can do is just start planning, pre-logging, start planning out your days, and then it just becomes like instructions to follow, and you can enjoy it totally guilt-free because it's in there. You got the calories for it, you can navigate it, you've enjoyed it, you've had a reasonable amount, and you really look forward to it, which is such a big bonus. And that's why there should be no restrictions in your diet. You should absolutely be able to implement this. But last but not least is just accountability and the power of having accountability. When no one is there to be like, oh, you went over your calories, or you really messed up this week, or your protein was low every day, it's very hard to be motivated to actually do it, because like, I'll do better tomorrow. It's not a big deal, or I'm going to stop tracking, or I'll pick it up next month. So have a friend, have a coach, have someone who's actually going to hold you to this data, make a public announcement, set those goals out there, have a friend that you do it with. Like, having this extra position of accountability just makes it real. And when it's real, it's a lot easier to stick to it. And when you have like someone doing a similar thing as you, if you're cutting with someone else, and you can talk through some of those struggles and some of your wins and your losses, and you can look at that data and say, hey, I messed up, but I improved the rest of the week. I still got to my result. And it's nice to see that. Like, that is immensely powerful. So any position of accountability you can have, even this podcast, though, like listening to something that builds you up, inspires you, and encourages you, is such an amazing extra level. And once again, if you love this episode, and if you want access to a resource where I share my 7 high-level training hacks I use to keep my paying clients jacked and lean, definitely hit me up with that keyword training hacks, Instagram at ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT. Once again, just DM me, message me training hacks. I will get that over to you, because once again, I'm happy to give this away, because these are some of my secrets that are just going to jack up the intensity on your workout. And I was debating making an episode. I'm like, you know what? I think a really nice doc, because it is pretty high level, will be quite nice. You can work through it. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to message me on Instagram. But there you have it, giving away some insider secrets, because we want to see you you win. We want to see you succeed. If you want to take all the guesswork and uncertainty out of this and want to work with us one-on-one, the link with our coaching is in the bio of this episode. Check that out to learn more about us. No pressure, of course. And if you're ready to see amazing results, fill that out. We will do the rest of the hard work. But have a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in for us. And once again, knowledge is only power when applied. So take these tips, implement them in your life, and see some real results.